Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're opening up the sources on a figure who, well, for far too long, was really unjustly overshadowed in the history books of humanitarian service. We are talking about Mary Seacole. Now, while history rightly celebrated Florence Nightingale, as the face of structured nursing reform.
Right, the lamp, the institution builder.
Exactly. Our files show Seacole was her fiercely independent, utterly fearless counterpart. A Jamaican woman who personally defied institutional prejudice, braved war zones, and used her own entrepreneurial spirit to bring essential care right to the front lines.
That's the crucial distinction, isn't it? That's what we really need to focus on today. Our mission is to pull out the essential knowledge about who Mary Seacole was, this powerful healer and businesswoman. The truly extraordinary sort of self-driven nature of her service, especially during the Crimean War, and then that long, hard-won arc of her eventual recognition. Her story as well, it's a real testament to action over bureaucracy.
And what immediately jumps out at me, looking through this, is how perfectly her early life prepared her for this path.
Right.
Born in Kingston, Jamaica.
Yeah.
Her background gave her this fascinating, unique blend of traditional Caribbean remedies mixed right in with rigid military medical procedures. It really set the stage for a life of service that essentially invented its own rules. So Mary Jane Grant, who later became Mary Seacole, of course, was born November 23, 1805. Her family represented that cultural complexity of Jamaica at the time. Father, a Scottish Army officer.
Right.
And her mother, a free black Jamaican woman known locally as a skilled doctress.
And that term, doctress, it's critical context here. Her mother ran Blundell Hall, and this wasn't just a home. It was like a specialized boarding house. It catered mostly to convalescing British soldiers and sailors.
So Mary literally grew up in a working clinic, essentially.
Pretty much. She's watching her mother use traditional Jamaican and African herbal medicine day in, day out. But at the same time, she's observing and interacting with the formal European practices of the military doctors who lodged there.
She basically got this hybrid medical education from day one, which was radically different from the kind of formalized training Nightingale would later establish,
Absolutely. And Seacole herself remembered how she had these very natural tastes for healing. She practiced on dolls, pets.
Yeah, the classic start.
Right. But she learned principles early on that modern medicine would later champion: the absolute necessity of hygiene, the power of good nutrition, and importantly, the healing effect of just genuine kindness.
And while she's absorbing all these skills, she's also forging this incredibly strong sense of self. Because when she traveled to Britain early on, around 1823, she faced prejudice. Direct, painful prejudice.
But it didn't seem to diminish her. If anything, it sounds like it fueled her resolve.
Oh, absolutely. She had such a powerful way of confronting it, too. She wrote quite openly about being a Creole, with good Scots blood coursing through my veins, but then immediately declared her pride in her connection to those poor mortals whom you once held enslaved. She was defining herself on her own terms, using her identity as strength, not weakness.
Exactly. And this strength, it wasn't just theoretical. After her marriage and then sadly losing her husband in 1844, she fully stepped into her medical role. Long before Crimea was even on the horizon, she was already an established medical authority in Jamaica.
Right. She worked right on the front lines during the major epidemics of the 1850s, that horrific cholera outbreak and the devastating 1852 yellow fever epidemic.
Yeah, these were major crises.
And here's where we see the institutional trust she actually earned locally. She was so effective treating soldiers during that yellow fever crisis that the colonial medical authorities of the establishment actually asked her to supervise nursing at the military camp hospital of Park Camp.
That's the critical setup for the whole story, isn't it? Trusted and utilized by the British military system in Jamaica because she delivered results.
Yeah.
So the question for you, the listener, becomes, if she was deemed qualified, essential by the Army in the Caribbean, why the complete cold shoulder when she later tried to help that same army in London?
Right.
That racial and institutional contradiction, well, it really defines the rest of her journey.
And that journey, it took a significant detour before Crimea. We jump ahead to 1851. Now we find her in Central America cruises, Panama specifically.
Yeah.
It's the height of the California gold rush fever.
Right. Travelers flooding the isthmus, bringing chaos and inevitably disease with them.
And this is where her Jamaican expertise really goes international. A rapid cholera outbreak hits Cruces. The town has no doctor, apparently just a dentist, who refused to treat the sick.
Unbelievable. So Mary, with her direct hands-on experience fighting cholera back in Kingston, she immediately recognized it and just took charge.
And what's fascinating here is how she used the specific blended pharmacopoeia, traditional remedies like warm compresses for cramps, but also heavy doses of Western medications common then, like mustard emetics to induce vomiting and calomel.
Yeah, and just a quick note on calomel for, our modern listeners. That's mercury chloride, highly toxic by today's standards, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
But it was a staple of 19th century Western medicine, used as a purgative. So Seacole wasn't discarding Western practice. She was critically engaging with it, supplementing it with her effective Jamaican herbal knowledge. She was doing triage, essentially, with the best available knowledge from two different worlds.
She managed to pull patients back from the brink, and word just spread like wildfire among the American and European travelers. She earned that nickname, Yellow Doctress.
Which is such a complex term, isn't it? It reflected her effectiveness, sure, but also carried those unavoidable racist undercurrents of the time.
Yeah. And she never hesitated to challenge those undercurrents either. When some American diners, acknowledging her skill, said they regretted she wasn't wholly white,
Oh, wow.
she replied with just characteristic defiance.
Yeah.
Said even if it were possible to bleach her skin, she wouldn't care to be turned white. That pride was just non-negotiable for her.
Amazing. And her medical mission, it was always intrinsically linked to her genius as an entrepreneur. In Cruces, she sets up the British Hotel, part boarding house, part restaurant, and crucially, part clinic. Later opened a store in Navy Bay. She wasn't just a healer, she was running a profitable business model, but one explicitly designed to subsidize radical philanthropy.
That's the massive takeaway from Panama, isn't it? Her business existed to support her core beliefs. No ailing person, rich or poor, should ever be turned away. She used profit to fund her humanitarian calling, a truly revolutionary, independent model for the time. And this independent spirit, well, it led her, full of confidence, to England in 1854. She was determined to volunteer for the Crimean War. I mean, she'd proven her ability with major epidemics, military health crises.
She had the track record.
Totally. She sought official channels applied to the War Office, the Army Medical Departments, even Florence Nightingale's mission.
And was met with just cold, institutional rejection every single time. They simply wouldn't take her. Polite, maybe, but absolute rejection.
It's hard not to feel that sting of frustration reading her account. She wrote that she suspected her rejections were down to her race. She asked, point blank, "Did these ladies shrink from accepting my aid because my blood flowed beneath a somewhat duskier skin than theirs?"
Yeah, and that raises such a profound point about institutional racism, doesn't it? The establishment prized order, structure, a certain image of nursing that Nightingale was pioneering.
Right.
Seacole, the Creole doctress, the businesswoman, she just didn't fit their rigid class or, frankly, racial criteria. But here's the twist. Rejection didn't stop her. Not even close.
Not at all. Her response was basically to ignore the system. She decided, fine, I'll go anyway. Entirely at her own considerable cost. She partnered with Thomas Day to sell provisions.
Right, the business angle again.
Exactly. She poured over 800 pounds, which was a small fortune in 1855, hundreds of thousands in today's money, into setting up her mission. She arrived in Balaclava in March 1855.
And her new British hotel there, it was truly unique. A store, a clinic, a dining hall, all rolled into one. And crucially, located near the front lines, closer to the actual fighting than any other non-combatant woman in that war.
It became a sanctuary.
It really did. And she became instantly beloved by the ordinary soldiers. They called her Mother Seacole.
That name says it all, really. And her courage was just legendary. She didn't wait for the wounded to be brought back miles to a base hospital. No, she rode out on her pony.
Often under fire.
Right. During major battles like the attack on the Redan, carrying a satchel full of immediate comforts, lemonade, port wine, food, bandages, lint tending to men right where they fell.
Just think about that visual contrast for a moment. You've got Nightingale managing these massive, complex institutional hospitals back at Scutari. And then you have Seacole, essentially a one-woman emergency response unit right on the battlefield. One witness described her during these acts of fearless compassion as being like a charitably disposed robin distributing comforts to the wounded. She was this trusted maternal figure delivering direct, immediate relief.
Her service was, well, triumphant in so many ways. But the end of the Crimean War, early 1856, it came with a heavy personal cost. The army left suddenly.
Packed up and went home.
Yeah, and Mary was left holding this massive, unsold stock of provisions she had bought for them. She was financially ruined. Despite all her heroism, she was officially declared bankrupt back in London in November 1856.
It was an immediate tragedy. But what's remarkable is that it triggered an equally immediate and overwhelming public response. The British press, especially those war correspondents like William Howard Russell who'd seen her work.
They knew what she'd done.
Exactly. They were outraged. They couldn't believe this national heroine was now destitute.
So the public rallied. They organized this massive 4-night fundraising gala in July 1857, right on the banks of the Thames. And this wasn't some small charity dinner. Okay.
Wow, this was huge.
It drew an astronomical 80,000 attendees over those 4 nights, an incredible outpouring of popular support. And it worked. It paid off all her debts and provided for her comfort.
And that same year, 1857, she published her autobiography, The Wonderful Adventures of Mrs. Seacole in Many Lands, instant bestseller. It cemented her status as a celebrity. And significantly, this is a major historical marker. It became the first known autobiography by a Black woman published in Britain. She was celebrated then, got honorary medals like the Crimea Medal. But sadly, that fame, it was fleeting.
She died in 1881. And here's where that institutional memory just fails, isn't it? Unlike Florence Nightingale, whose legacy was actively supported, institutionalized by the nursing profession she helped create.
Right. There was infrastructure to remember Nightingale.
Exactly. Mary Seacole lacked that systematic backing. So she rapidly faded into obscurity, became known, kind of tragically, posthumously, as the forgotten doctress.
What's fascinating, though, is the slow, almost grassroots nature of her rediscovery, often initiated by people connected to nursing and, crucially, to her homeland, Jamaica. The Jamaican General Trained Nurses Association named its headquarters after her way back in 1954.
Okay.
Then, the physical history had to be literally dug up. In 1973, her neglected grave in London was finally rediscovered and restored, bit by bit.
So the accolades start slowly mounting again in the late 20th century. Jamaica awards her the Order of Merit in 1990. That's a huge national honor.
Yeah, third highest, I think.
And then a big moment in the UK, 2004, a nationwide poll votes her the greatest Black Briton. That really signaled her mainstream reemergence, didn't it? Kind of forced her inclusion to school curriculums alongside Nightingale.
It really did. And the climax, you could say, of this decades-long campaign finally arrived in 2016. After years of dedicated effort, a bronze statue of Mary Seacole was unveiled.
And the location is so powerful, right outside St. Thomas's Hospital in London, directly opposite the Houses of Parliament.
Hugely symbolic.
And it was the first public statue in the UK dedicated specifically to a named Black woman. The description just clinches it, quoting William Russell's passionate plea from 1857. "I trust that England will not forget one who nursed her sick."
A perfect quote. So today, Mary Seacole is rightfully celebrated, not just as a pioneering nurse, but as, well, a symbol of resilience, a courageous entrepreneur, a humanitarian who just smashed through the racial and class barriers of her time through sheer force of will and effectiveness. Her narrative is finally secured, ensuring future generations understand that essential service can and does take many forms.
And ultimately, Mary Seacole's life offers us this powerful lesson, one that connects directly to, well, every institutional failure we still see today.
Yeah.
Her story is just this incredible testament to the fact that genuine humanitarian action, critical service, it can and often must come from outside the official channels. She was rejected by the establishment, denied support.
Completely shut out.
Yet she went forward anyway, funded her own mission, and delivered care where it was most desperately needed. Her legacy proves that determination and effectiveness, regardless of official sanction, will eventually earn their own hard-won place in history.
And that's the provocative thought we really want to leave you with. Consider where, in our modern world, essential work is currently being done outside the established system. Who are the Mary Seacoles of today? Using that entrepreneurial spirit, that personal drive to fill the gaps that bureaucracy ignores.
Right.
And maybe more importantly, what will it take for the recognition to arrive sooner than, say, a century and a half later?